So I was sitting down with my staff this morning and thinking about all the things that have happened in 2022. Man, we've had another crazy year. I started writing down a list of all of the things that happened in the last year, and man, that is a long list. In fact, so many crazy things have happened, it's hard to keep track of them. As an opposition MP, it's very important to hold the government to account and to remind Canadians about all of the corruption that the Liberals are getting away with. So here are some of the issues that I've been reminded of that have happened in the last 12 months. Let's talk about foreign interference.
Vancouver has at least one secret police station being operated by Chinese authorities.
3 Scarborough and Markham addresses are on a list of so-called police stations said to be organized by the Chinese government.
Whether it's state-owned enterprises receiving contracts with the RCMP or foreign governments operating police stations on Canadian soil, or interference in Canadian elections, Canadian sovereignty is at risk. And what do we get from this government? Crickets.
I do not have any information, nor have I been briefed, on any federal candidates receiving any money from China.
How is this Prime Minister and how are these Liberals not taking action against a foreign government operating a police station on Canadian soil? And let's not forget about passports.
So right now, it's not gonna happen for you guys. I'm sorry.
Despite increasing the size of the public service dramatically, Canadians can't even expect to get a basic government service like the issuance of a passport in a timely manner.
I was at the Ottawa airport the other day. Mustafa walks up to me from Calgary. I said, "What are you doing in Ottawa, Mustafa?" He says, "I'm here to get my passport." Well, I said, "You can get a passport in Calgary." He says, "Well, I thought so too, but I applied 10 months ago, and it became desperate because I have a wedding in Cuba." And I said, "Well, when's your wedding?" "Yesterday." I said, "Well, where's your wife?" "In Cuba, with my 20 best friends and family members." Nothing is working, and that's because the Prime Minister isn't working.
Let's talk about opioids. Across Canada, but especially in British Columbia, a record number of people are dying unnecessarily every single year because governments collectively have not been able to put the resources to give people hope and a chance at recovery. This is partly an issue about mental health funding and making sure that there are enough detox beds and recovery centers for Canadians who have this illness to get the support and opportunity they need to regain their life back. This isn't about making more promises. It's about fulfilling the ones that have already been made. A year and a half ago, the world watched as Lytton, British Columbia burned to the ground, a community in my riding. The Government of Canada, in good faith, came forward and promised money to help rebuild that community. Since their flashy press release, a year and a half later, that money hasn't been approved by the Treasury Board, it hasn't gone to the community members as promised, and they've delayed much of the funding and are extending it over a 5-year period. With inflation, that's effectively taking away 25 to 30% of the purchasing power of this community to build back basic necessities like a town hall, a library, a recreation center.
Have you or your department commissioned any studies that demonstrates that this buyback plan is an effective use of taxpayer dollars to enhance public safety?
I've spoken with the victims.
But have you commissioned a study that proves this?
Of course, we're studying the costing very carefully.
You're studying it currently? You don't have a study, you don't have proof right now that it will?
Mr. Lloyd.
And now let's talk about Bill C-21. It's no secret that Mission Matsqui Fraser Canyon is home to a proud culture and history of hunting. Hunting provides sustenance for thousands of families that I represent, and the Government of Canada wants to take that away because of their woke agenda, thinking that lawfully abiding firearms owners are a problem to Canadian society. What an insult and what an attack on Canadian culture and identity. And now let's talk about housing. In the last general election, the Liberals promised a housing accelerator fund to build hundreds of thousands of new homes to help Canadians have a fighting chance at securing home ownership. Well, under the Liberals, the complete opposite has happened. I can't think of a bigger screw-up Young people are living in their parents' basements. New immigrants who thought they would have a chance to buy a home are being left renting at enormous rates. Young families that finally did secure that mortgage have seen their rates skyrocket, paying thousands of dollars more every single year for a variable rate mortgage because they heard the Prime Minister and the Bank of Canada say that low interest rates were here for the long term. What a shame what we've done to an entire generation that is going to be left renting and can't participate in the value and good of home ownership. I get really angry when I talk about housing because an entire generation feels left behind by this government.
When a Canadian veteran picked up the phone and called Veterans Affairs Canada to get treatment for his combat-related PTSD and a traumatic brain injury, he expected help getting better and getting his life back. Instead, he got an unexpected and unwanted offer to help him end it through medically assisted death.
Let's talk about medically assistance in death, or euthanasia. And the most egregious example I could ever think of is a Government of Canada official telling a veteran that their best option may be to take their own life. We need to take a really hard look about what's happening at Veterans Affairs Canada and get to the bottom of this and make sure that every veteran, when they're vulnerable and they come to the government for services that they were told is made whole, and that the government is there to offer them the services that they deserve. We need to fix this problem and make sure that every veteran who serves in our military is made whole, and that the government is there to offer them the services that they deserve.
I want to play you a clip, if you don't mind. We've done multiple stories about the cost of living, and this one in particular surprised a lot of us.
So people are so desperate, they're coming here for food, but then they're asking you about assisted suicide?
Yes.
You're having people ask you about assisted suicide?
Yes. When I say that this is an emergency in the community, people who are living at the bottom income percentile in our community are talking to us now about taking their own lives because it's too hard to be poor any longer.
And more generally, when we talk about medically assistance in death or euthanasia, the fact that the Government of Canada is considering giving people with mental illnesses an option to kill themselves doesn't sit well with me. We need to help people when they're desperate for help. We have failed to deliver the mental health services and supports that so many Canadians need right now. For mental illness, we shouldn't be focusing on death as an option. We should be focusing on recovery and hope to give people a fighting chance to reclaim their life.
Common sight in pharmacies across the country, near empty shelves of children's cold and flu medicine and specifically Tylenol products.
Here's one that really irked me. Have you been to a Shoppers Drug Mart lately?
I have been to probably about 10 Shoppers in the Lower Mainland over the last 6 months, and all of them report that they're completely out of Tylenol tablets for children.
The shelves are empty for children's Tylenol, acetaminophen, and ibuprofen. I never thought I would see in Canada Facebook groups organizing to make trips to the United States to buy basic children's medication because they couldn't get it in Canada. Mums were smuggling this stuff across the border like they're Pablo Escobar. For Pete's sake, what's happening to our country? And these were only some of the issues that were top of mind. I didn't even talk about inflation, the cost of groceries, the carbon tax, the Emergencies Act. I could go on and on and on. But the reality is that we need to look forward, and the Conservative Party has a big responsibility right now to turn that frustration, apprehension, and sense that everything is broken in Canada into hope for the year ahead. We have to be relentless in our pursuit of accountability to ensure that the government doesn't spend our money unwisely, that the government takes Canadian sovereignty seriously, and that I don't have to sit here thinking about whether or not my children can get Tylenol in a country as rich and prosperous as Canada. I know this video could have been a lot longer, so please like, share, but most importantly, comment below on the challenges that you're seeing with the Government of Canada with Liberal mismanagement. I want to hear from you. Let's start a conversation. And as always, thanks for watching.